Koufax used to use captain.
Still doing Muslim. Koufax doesn't last that long though. I think are we up to L'chein Yosem
Yeah, yes.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. Okay, L'chein Yosem Kol Adam Simchasei Ala Torah. Everybody should put his simcha on the Torah. Be'esh Yasa mitzvahs, and when he does mitzvahs, Yismach Beliboy, he should be happy in his heart. Al Shazach Aliyas Eved L'Melech Elyon, that he was zeicher to be an Eved to the Melech Elyon. Asher b'nei Melech, that the people that have milus, people meaning upper class people, bow down to him. Right? I don't bow down to him, but I just lost the place. Right? You know, bow down. I think he means literally bow down, right? Yeah. 1 second. Sorry, I just totally. My app just. I totally lost. I'm sorry, I totally lost the place. What did I do? Totally bad. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there. We did that. Oh, there it is. Yeah, V'chein Omar David. I'm sorry. V'chein Omar David. Sasa noichi alim rasecha k'moitze shalom rav. I was so happy on what Hashem's told me, like somebody who found a good treasure. Yeah. Now look at this next line is wild. V'chola oisa mitzvahs b'simcha. Anybody who does mitzvahs b'simcha, yesh le schar elef yodas yoiser misha mitzvah love lamasa. Hear that? Somebody does a mitzvah, besimcha, gets 1,000 hands worth more of schar than somebody who does it like an ul. Right? Meaning, so you go to a chasana and you complain about the traffic, you're not getting schar like the guy who went to the chasana and is gewaldig, right? Or you go to the chasana and you're complaining about the heat in the chasana all the whole time, right? And you say, "Oh, you're going to a chasana, you're not getting the same schar as the guy who's just besimcha, right?" Is that a good mashal, Perez? I don't know.
I thought you were going to say that the brownie was a little too moist, but okay, fine. We'll go with that example. It's fine.
I never even got the brownie in the end of the mice.
Yeah, I know. The heat is an understatement, but yeah.
What's it? It was hot inside.
Oh, shine liner.
No, not if anybody who was working like you are. The snow wasn't hot. It was only the guests who was hot.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, but that's what it's saying. That somebody he doesn't bring a source for this, right? I mean, this is type of something that I would send out, but then in a text, right? It's a good thing. You get whoever does schar. Whoever does the mitzvahs b'simcha gets 1,000 times more schar than somebody who doesn't. Where did that come from?
Douglas, you should write a tuition. You should write a tuition check b'simcha.
100%. That's exactly what it's saying. Yes.
Why tuition the mitzvah?
Well, Aaron, at least a quarter of your tuition checks are with simcha, so it's okay.
Very good.
Yeah. That's yeah, but that's what it's saying. And if that's that, I don't remember what the source is, but regretting doing a mitzvah, that for sure it says. When you regret to do a mitzvah, then you lose the schar of the mitzvah. I think that's a Gemara. Didn't we have that? Was it in Brachos? It's a Gemara somewhere. Either way, okay. So that's the end of Musar. All right. Have a good night, Dave. Fine. Yeah. Second line down. Another daf that's mamish. At the risk of sounding like a yeshiva bracha, we could spend weeks on it, but I don't want to say that.
One second. We can't start until Akiva comes on. Hold on. Someone's got to call him.
Yeah, so no, this stuff is also full. There's a reason why it's called Shas Katan. It's all the subjects that come up here. Okay, so second line down. Rav Ami shar lemivel betchila b'Shabbos. Rav Ami said that you're allowed to be together. Amri l'Rabbanan v'lo kesuba kesuba. They didn't yet write the kesuba. Now, obviously, based on this kasha, they had a different meaning than we have nowadays. Right? What do you mean kesuba? You do the kesuba before by the chuppa, you do the kesuba. Or before the chuppa, you do the kesuba. So obviously back then they did the kesuba after they were together. But either way, the Gemara is asking, so you're not allowed to stay together if you don't have a kesuba. And obviously they're not writing the kesuba on Shabbos, so how can you be together? How can we allow them to be together on Friday nights? So atfasua metaltalin. He gives her metaltalin. Things, right? He gives her metaltalin, anything that's meaning he doesn't give her land, he gives her metaltalin, like a watch. He says to her, this watch will be yours if we get divorced, or if we get or if he dies, then she gets the watch. Now it comes up a lot in practical halacha, because you're not allowed to learn, you're not allowed to live together. Is there yichud with a woman unless she has a kesuba? So what happens if a woman calls 10 o'clock at night? They lost the kesuba. The man calls, they lost the kesuba. So what do? She has to go move in with her friend or her family. So we paskin based on this is that you give her collateral. Is collateral the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah, collateral. Right? You give her collateral instead of the kesuba, which most of the
So
time.
what happens if a lady realizes she lost the kesuba on Yontif or on Shabbat Friday night? She has to move out?
No, so he gives her collateral. Now, by most men,
How do you do it on Shabbos?
She doesn't have to move out. The man has to move out. I think we had a little chat here after the class. Anyway.
How do you do that? Like, issues and there are issues like that?
No, just give
Break it up.
you say that this watch can be and you use it on Shabbos. You're allowed to give him a tana if it's meant for Shabbos. Now it's funny because usually the women have the more expensive metaltalin. Women have jewelry, men don't. So usually it ends up being a watch, or a computer, or a cell phone. But it's not really enough. It needs to be something expensive. Whatever it is.
But Yaakov, didn't we say that your average kesuba is like $20,000, something like that? Didn't we see there was a number to it? So does it have to be the full amount?
Reb Yaakov, he could give his strammel. That's worth a lot of money.
What are you saying?
He could give his strammel.
Strammel, for those that wear strammel, correct. And they get, yes.
That's worth a lot of money.
Correct, that's true. Yeah, but imagine she goes wearing the strammel. That's like the old days. White show, right? The women wear the strammel. Anyway.
Yaakov, going home last night from the chasana, Zev told me years ago they were at a chasana, and Leah, my daughter, was very close with the kala. She helped the kala with a lot of things. 4 o'clock in the morning, their phone rings in the house. The chassan says, "Do you know where the kesuba is?" So Zev had to Leah, she said, "Yeah, there's a black bag in the room where they got dressed, in the side zip in the black bag." He came back a minute later, bye, and that's what's it.
Taka?
Yeah.
All right, so while we're on, do you know where the kesuba is? Is he on?
Yes. Yes. Ruffy has it.
Anyways, so what happens is that what you do is you tell the guy, okay, we can't get you a new kesuba, so we'll get you a new kesuba tomorrow or whatever, 2 days, 3 days. While they're looking for it, you give the collateral. So that's what the Gemara means here. Fine. Rav Zvid, weiter 4 lines down. Rav Zvid, shar lemivel betchila b'Shabbos. Rav Zvid held you're allowed to do beyond Shabbos. Aikat amri Rav Zvid gufei ba betchila b'Shabbos. Some say Rav Zvid himself did the first beyond Shabbos. Fine. Rav Yehuda shar lemivel betchila b'Yom Tov. Rav Yehuda allowed a person to be boiled betchila on Yom Tov. That's the Rav Papa Shmei the Rav Loitem Yom Tov the Shari. Don't just say it means Yom Tov. Papa Shabbos also. But Shabbos, they wouldn't be able to be together. Even on Shabbos also mutter. It happened to be that the Shiloh was asked to him on Erev Yom Tov, can the couple be together? So he said yes, but it doesn't mean only Yom Tov, it means Shabbos too. Papa says no, Yom Tov it's taka mutter, Shabbos is also. So yeah. Almost like Yavamas already. Amalei Rav Papi, the Rav Papa, right? My daikach, what's your das? Mitoch shehutra chabura l'tzarech, hutranami shaloi l'tzarech, right? Since you're allowed to make a cut in some tzarech, like meaning on Yom Tov, you're allowed to shecht. Hutranami shaloi, so Mamela we're going to do, right? The word, the mitoch, right? Since we allow you to do malachas on Yom Tov for food preparation, so that will allow you to do any sort of the same malacha, even for not food preparation, right? So meaning what's the classic? The classic is you're allowed to carry on Yom Tov. Why? Since you're allowed to carry food on Yom Tov, so Mamela, you're also allowed to carry even non-food items on Yom Tov. So what are you saying? Why would Yom Tov be mutter to have the first bia? Because even if it causes bleeding, it's only going to cause bleeding. I mean, it's going to be mutter because just like you're allowed to cause bleeding by shechting an animal on Yom Tov, so too you can cause the bleeding with the intercourse. If that's the case, mutter lasses mugmer Yom Tov, then it should be mutter to take make literally means spices. But what they did is the way them to make the clothing smell better. They used to take incense or whatever spices, put into fire and let it go on the clothing, which you're not allowed to do on Yom Tov. Why? But the Gemara is asking, why should it be a problem? Why don't you say the same way you're allowed to make a fire in order to cook with? So you should also be able to make a fire in order to make your clothing smell good. So Elamai, the Gemara is saying it can't be, meaning Mitoch is not an open-ended kula to just allow things. Right? I mean, don't say, oh, Mitoch, that you're allowed to shecht an animal, so therefore you're also allowed to have the first intercourse, right? Even though it bleeds, because of Mitoch. If that's the case, then we should allow you to make a fire to make the clothing smell good too, which we don't. So clearly you don't have just carte blanche to say Mitoch on everything. So Amalei, he said back to him, on you, the pasuk says, because it says, and this is brought up many a disagreement in Hilchos Yom Tov. It's something that has to be eaten by all people. It's something that's equal to all people, meaning the only things that we say mitoichan are things that most people would do. If most people will not do it, then it's not going to be mutter. So most people are not making their clothing smell good. It's only like the mifunakim. But
Yaakov, this would be outright about smoking then, a problem.
1 second. But everybody is equal that they're gonna get married and sleep with a woman. So that's considered equal. Making her bleed is gonna be equal. Now, yes. So the major hot button topics on this subject are smoking on Yom Tov, right? So because we're saying mitoch, so here we're saying incense doesn't work. So mitoch doesn't work. That's one, and the other one is showering, right? Showering on Yom Tov. Can you take a hot shower on Yom Tov? Meaning, do we say that most people shower on Yom Tov?
Shabbos l'chol nefesh.
Meaning, there's most people every day. So most poskim are in agreement that smoking is not l'chol nefesh, and therefore one is not allowed to smoke on Yom Tov, although there are makilim. Showering on Yom Tov, I think also most poskim hold you are not allowed to turn on the hot water to shower on Yom Tov. So, and then the question is, what do you call Shav l'chol nefesh? How do you define that? By towns, by countries, by cities, right? Because in America, you could pretty much assume that people shower every day. From what I understand, most of the world, they don't shower every day. So, I don't know. So anyway, so that would be the difference. Fine. So if somebody gets a deer on Yom Tov, and then he could shecht it. So you're going to say, since most people don't eat deer, right? So then it's not Sheva l'chol nefesh, and you can't shecht the deer. Of course, you can shecht the deer, right? It's included in shchita. He said, I'm talking about things that are necessary for everybody, and a tzvi is something that's necessary for everybody. Meaning, doesn't mean but we shouldn't go out now and go buy what do you call meat? Deer meat, venison.
Yeah.
Yeah, venison. Saying, oh, everybody needs venison. Gemara says everybody needs venison. No, but everybody needs food.
Food. Everybody needs food.
Food. So since it's included in food, we're going to say mitoch on that. But you're not going to start saying that mitoch works for incense to make the clothing good, because that's not something that everybody needs. So Rav Yaakov Baridi, Rav Yochanan, but Sayyadin also live b'tchila b'Shabbos. Rav Yaakov Baridi said, "B'shem Rav Yochanan, you're not allowed to have the first be on Shabbos." So Gemara says, "Mi'ika hara le'isur." Is there such a thing as a hara for isur? Meaning, well, I'll just read the Rashi. It's kedai to read this Rashi, right? It's about 20 lines up in the Rashi. Mi'ika hara le'isur. Umi kari isur hara. Can you call an isur a psak? Right? This is for the kanoim, this Rashi, right? Or anti the kanoim. Every person can say to be machmer. And somebody who says that something's also, that's not a smichas dvarim. Because even if he's masupik and the halacha is not clear, he can not a psak, aval a mater, but somebody who's going to be mater, saimach al shmuasa, either he's going to be saimach on what he heard, or on the svara of his chachma, he hayra, and that's called a hayra. Meaning, the lashon of hayra, a psak, hayra is essentially the same word as a psak. A psak is not considered something if you're just going to ask him. The word psak should be going on the word mutter. At least that's what the Gemara thinks now, right? Because it's easy to say that something's also. You don't necessarily need a psak for that, but you need a psak for that. So again, the Gemara says in, but yes, you could use the word hayra for isser. But nan, haru Beis Hillel taught shetehei nazira oid sheva shanim acheres that she needed another 7 years of nazirus. Right, this is talking about Hilni Amalka, right? That she said that her son went out to fight, and she said, if my son comes back, then I'm going to be a nazir for 7 years in Chutz La'aretz. Right? So, and then what happened was that he came back. So now she had to keep the 7 years, right? But then she went back to Eretz Yisrael. So basically, paskin that she needs to have another 7 years. So you see that was hayra. What? 7 years. And then she went up to Eretz Yisrael. Wrong. You only said because she said the 7 years. She was not in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. So she had to be in Eretz Yisrael for that. No, meaning I'm sorry. I didn't explain it right. Your nazir can't be tamei, right? So a nazir can't be tamei. So therefore, if she's in Chutz La'aretz, they were masakin that Chutz La'aretz is a tuma. So since they're masakin, Chutz La'aretz is tuma. So she was tamei. So once she moved to Eretz Yisrael, then she had to keep another 7 years, right? But whatever it is, the point is that the word hayra is used the chumra. Vinami, or in another case, if you have the spinal cord, that the majority of it got broken, right? So then that's going to make treifa. Divei Rebbe. Rabbi Yaakov, even if it just gets a hole in the spinal cord, then
What is this related? How is this related to what we're just talking about?
it's not. It's just examining the word.
The word hora.
The word hara is the chumra. So Hara Rebbe Rabbi Yaakov, and Rebbe taught like Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov was the. That's what is saying that the word hara can be used for fine. Amar Rav Huna ain't Yaakov. As Rabbi Yochanan ben Tzayadin, Vanash Vano Sham. He said he heard this conversation going on, and he overheard it. The question was asked, "What's the story with doing bia mitchila on Shabbos?" And they said to him, "It's aser v'hilchasa mutter liva b'tchila b'Shabbos." So after bringing down all these different shitas, some allowing bia on Shabbos, the bia rishon on Shabbos, some not allowing. Bottom line is it's mutter, and that is right. We're asking that bia rishon to be on. Fine. That's interesting. The bottom Tosfos, don't worry, it's a one-liner. The bottom line in the Tosfos says v'hilchas mutter liva b'tchila b'Shabbos. So historically, the way they made chasanim is because they couldn't afford to make chasanim. They made it Friday afternoon, and they had one suda, Friday night suda, together with the chasana. Right? So, we had previously concern to make the chasana on Shabbos. So, Tosfos here it says, in the bottom line, ben oif, right? That's what we said a couple of blot ago, that we're going to be Shabbos, and that's what we're being saimach on to make a suda on Shabbos. Right? He's saying we're not previous. Fine. Okay, so let's see weiter. Amar Rav Chelba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Abba bar Zavda, Amar Rav. Achas besula v'achas almana te'una bracha. Yeah, parents, this is for you. This Gemara. This is all now where it comes from and what the sources are. So anyway, so Rav Chelba says, b'shem Rav Abba bar Zavda, in the name of Rav, that whether it's a besula, whether it's almana, you need bracha, right? Now, what is bracha? So Rashi says birchas chasanim, which basically is Sheva Brachos, which we'll see weiter what that is. The Gemara asks him, Rav Huna Hachi, did Rav Huna really say Almana ain't a tuna bracha? A widow does not need bracha. So here he said whether it's a hey, Rasha, kan b'bocher shenos almana, kan b'almana ba'alman shenos almana. One is talking about where a single guy married a widow. So there you would need bracha. Kan ba'alman shenos almana, but where it's an alman, a widow marrying a widower, then you don't need the bracha. So they're going to ask on that. Alman shenos almana, loy. If a widow marries a widower, there's no birchas chasanim. How do you know that you need a minion, right? You need 10 for birchas chasanim. I was talking about Bayaz. Bayaz took 10 men, here from the elders of the city. And he said, Shvu, stay here, and they sat there. Ubayaz alman shenas almana, and Bayaz was an alman, and he was marrying an almana. So you see, he required 10, which means he required for birchas chasanim. Yeah, but that's marriage. Right?
Yaakov.
Yeah.
Mordechai Schiller's second son was Mashadich years ago with the tender from Muncie who had many issues.
Yeah.
So the chuppa was totally insane, and he called up 10 people to have by the Sheva Brachos, by the chuppa.
What do you mean, that they should be
after
under
the kesuba, when they're going to have the Sheva Brachos by the chuppa, he called up 10 people to have a minion.
Why? I mean, what specific?
Why? I don't know. I don't know. And Ivadul L'chaim, Rav Nata Shilla didn't know why, and Shimon Zisovs didn't know why. So I'm just telling you what happened.
Okay. You would think that a minion around is.
And some pretty smart people didn't know why he was doing it.
I hear. Interesting. So anyway, so you see beferish that you do need bracha birchas chasanim by a widow marrying a widower. So my answer is my enatuna bracha dam Rav Huna. What did Rav Huna mean when he said you don't need a bracha? Enatuna bracha kol zayin. You don't need to make these Shabbos the whole 7 days. But one day you do need. Meaning at the chasana itself, when an alman marries an almana, then you do need Sheva Brachos. So Gemara asks, right? So we had this in the beginning of the Masechta that the Chachamim were worried about a takana for the Bnei Yisrael Yisameach Ima Gimel Yomim, that he has to be happy with her for 3 days. So b'mai, if you say it's about a bacher, so he said you need to have 7. And and if it's an alman marrying an almana, then it's only 1 day. So what does that mean? So the Gemara says 2 tirutzim. For an alman, there's 1 day of brachas, meaning by the chuppa, you have the Sheva Brachos, and you have 3 days of Simcha, but you don't have 3 days of making Sheva Brachos. Shiva, the bracha, or it's someone a bacher, in which case you have 7 days of brachas and 3 days of Simcha, right? So according to this, there's only a chi of Simcha for the first 3 days, right? But the we don't pascha like that, and the Simcha for 2 singles is going all 7 days, right? So that's where you get into that there's parted from Tachnun, and they parted a minion from Tachnun, and that they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be also be yichud, meaning a lot to be alone, and these type of things. So on to Amud Beis now. So meisvei mevarchin lebesula shiva ulamana yom echad. We make brachas for a besula 7 and almana 1 day. Are we not talking about an almana marrying a single guy? And it says 1 day. So the Gemara gives the obvious answer. It's talking about where a widow is marrying a widower. That's when you have 1 day of the brachas, and that's it. So then Gemara asks, but for a bacher, what's it then? Shiva? So you have 7 days. Listen, why don't you just say it this way in the Mishnah? Besula Shiva. You make a bracha for a besula for 7 days. Amana shenisas l'bacher Shiva. And an almana that marries a bacher 7. Amana yom echad. But if an almana, but if an alman is marrying an almana, so then it's only 1 day. So meaning, why didn't the Gemara just spell that out? So the Gemara answers, milsa psikta katani. Right? It's just trying to tell us a milsa of psikta, meaning it's just trying to tell us something for sure, something definite. The leka besula, the batam yeshiva, there's no such thing as a besula of girl previously unmarried. There's never less than 7. The leka almana, the batam yom echad, and there's no such thing as an almana getting married that has less than 1 day of making Sheva Brachos. So the bottom line is that it's all going to be, as long as one of them is single, they're going to have standard Sheva Brachos. If they're not single, then if one of them was not single, if one of them was single, then there's standard Sheva Brachos. If they're both previously married, then it's only going to be for 1 day. Brings up
on behalf of Avikan and myself, we're very happy that that's how we paskin.
Yes, 100%. Yes, that's true. But there's an interesting shaila that comes up a lot, where what happens if they were never married, but let's say Bali Tshuva, who lived together, and now they get married, right? What do they get? 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, right? Because Lamaisa, they were together. She's not a besula, right? So does it go with the marriage? A couple that become Bali Tshuva. Now they get married properly. They never got married properly. They had a how do you call it? What do you call a wedding? From the government. How they decide to get a kosher wedding? Do they have Sheva Brachos? Well, what happens if the girl's not a besula? You know, Balas Tshuva. Sure it does. It says besula.
Why isn't it the same as Bacher Shenatz Almana?
What?
Why isn't it the same as Bacher Shenatz Almana?
What happens if they're both? What happens if they both are not I guess besulas, whatever you want to call it.
Well,
Then
that
what?
I think doesn't Rashi say on this Amud that Almana means not a besula, but Almain means previously married.
Does Rashi say that?
I think so. I can't look right now.
I hope. Please don't look. I don't remember that, but the Paiskim Be'etzim say that they should not have Sheva Brachos. From what I remember correct from looking into it, the Paiskim say Be'etzim they should not have Sheva Brachos, but it's a bizayin. It's a bizayin. So it's so we do it. Lamaisa we do it. Anyways, okay. Weiter. Gufa Amar Rav Nachman Amarli Huna Bar Nasan Tana Minayin LeBirchas chasanim ba'asara. Right, so we discussed this number aleph, but now this is the main sugya. How do we know that birchas chasanim, meaning the brachas by the chuppa, or Sheva Brachos need 10 people? Right, Boya said he took 10 men from the elders of the city. Stay here. Ravo says a different pasuk. Right. 1 second. So he said when they gather together to say brachas to Hashem from the makar of Yisrael. So therefore, what does it mean from the makar? Because what's the bracha of the makar? The womb is considered a makar, and that's what's happening when you get married. Bez Hashem, the couple will have children. So Mamela, that is anything having to do with them. But when you're making brachas about the makar, about the womb, then you need 10, because a kehila is 10, right? Now Taisus has interesting kasha because makhalos is plural. So if you're saying a kehila is 10 and makhalos is plural, so you should need 20, right? So Taisus says no, there's no svara to be mechalik between 10 and 20. Fine. Either way, so those are the two psukim. So now the Gemara is going to have a back and forth why each one doesn't say like the other. Rav Nachman b'hai krod Rebavo my darish. Right? What is Rav Nachman going to use the pasuk of Rebavo for? How do we know that the fetuses that were inside their mothers in the womb said shira halayam? Right, so you see from in the makar they were saying they were benching Hashem. The idach and the other shita. How does he know this? How does he know that the fetus is saying shira? Let the pasuk say from the stomach, right? Ma'imi makar. What does it mean from makar? Al iskem makar. From the iska. I'm sorry, I explained the kasha wrong. The idach. How come he didn't learn it like the Fashira, because him came lemakromi beten, right? So why don't you just say me beten? Ma'imi makar. Al iske makar means it's talking about making Sheva Brachos on from things that we're busy with the makar, which is what marriage is all about.
Yaakov,
yeah.
Did you hear the case from Texas yesterday? A pregnant lady was driving in the HOV lane. She got pulled over by a trooper. He wrote her a ticket. He said, you have to have 2 people in the car. She says, look at me. I have somebody inside me. I'm 2 people.
And he
gave it a ticket. Yeah, but there's a big fight now. Yeah. And I think she's going to fight it.
The abortion.
They had that in New York with the HOV lanes.
Yeah, this is the HOV. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, a party with this. Interesting. Very good. So what does Rav Nachman do with the pasuk of Rav Nachman? It's come to tell us that we had this in Yivamis, that you're not allowed to marry a male Almani, and we're not allowed to marry a male Mayavi, but a female Almanis and a female mayavis, that is a female, that's mutter. Because if you think that the reason why Boaz gathered the 10 people together in order to have the Sheva Brachos, loy sagi the lavs kanim, so why does it have to be the elders? Right? It can be anybody. Why do you need 10 older people? So must be, it has nothing to do with Sheva Brachos. Must be that he's trying to tell everybody the din that you are allowed to marry a female mayavi and a female amoni. V'idach, what's the other one going to do with that? Isak midrash. If you're saying that you darshan it that somebody from Mayav is mutter, right? Because Rus, loy sagid lava sarah. What do you need 10 people for that for? If Boaz is paskening that somebody from Mayav is allowed to be married, you're allowed to marry a female from Mayav. So then, what do you need 10 people for that? Right? So it must be that the pasuk's not coming for that; it's coming to talk about Sheva Brachos. So Gemara answers, no, you do need 10 for Sumi Milsa in order to publicize it. Come bring me 10 people, and I'm going to say in front of them, somebody who's zeichen something for an uber is kaina, right? Meaning, if you give a matana to somebody else and say, acquire this matana on behalf of the uber, then that works. Then that's allowed. So he said, bring me 10 people so that I can publicize it. So that's why it's meaning. So you see that there is such a thing as bringing 10 people to publicize it, right? The halacha is that if you zeiche for an uber, you're not kaina, right? So therefore, okay, but that's just brought parenthetical. So basically, that's the pshan in the Machlokes. So you have two psukim. How you know that you need 10 people for Sheva Brachos, right? Parrots, here you go. You got a speech for tonight for Sheva Brachos. Ask around by the Shabbos. How do you know you need 10 people? See who learns the daf. You have two psukim. Either you learn it from Boaz, right? Or you learn it out from the other pasuk of Makalis Baruch Elokim Hashem Mikor Yisrael. Right? And then one of the nafkaminas is whether you say, depending on which shita you go with, whether the fetus is saying shira on the yam. If you go with the other shita, then the fetuses didn't sing shira. Maybe you learn both. Now you wouldn't believe it. Like I like to say, when shilas come through, when that could be nageya, but somebody 2 days ago called me and said that there's a single girl getting married to a man with a bunch of kids, and she has her own money, and she doesn't want. We had this case in Yavamas. It's going to come with Keshubos too, a similar case. It's really the opposite, and she's afraid that all her money goes to the husband, and the older kids who are not her kids are going to take all the money. Right? Meaning her money, she's coming in. She's a single girl. She's, I don't know, she's in her high 30s. She has a lot of money. Right now, it all goes to her husband when she gets married. So the husband's going to go give it all to his kids, and her kids are not going to get a piece of the pie. I mean, this is a forward-thinking shaila. So the shaila was, can you make a trust for kids that are not even born yet? Right? So that they get the money. Meaning, can you be mezaka for kids that are not even born yet? So I floated around in my head. I said, well, we're just having this in the daf. But the daf is, we paskin here, that not even for a fetus that's in existence, you can't do it. So l'chayra, you can't do it for, you can't do it for this either. Either way, okay, fine. Now
they should bring a raya from the Chumash where you have Eliezer went with a Sarah Gemalim. They said, why did he need all the Sarah Gemalim? He says, because for Kedushin you needed 10. So when he was Mekadisher as a Shliach, so they had a minion by Avram with Eliezer.
I hear. So you're saying that's a raya? Okay, I don't know if you can bring a raya from Chumash, but I hear.
I don't know if it's a raya, but that's what they bring. Why do they need that? Why do they have to specify that? This is because it's because they needed a minion to be Mekadosh.
I hear. Interesting. Okay, I hear that raya. Maybe you should write made on that. Fine. Okay. Get into the case. So I know the other is Dam Mincha, but this part's easy. So Tanur Rabbanon. Birchas chasanim bebeis chasanim. So you make the bracha of birchas chasanim in the house of the chasanim, right? From this is mashma that you make the bracha in Beis Chasanim, meaning in the chasan's house, you make Sheva Brachos, not in restaurants, right? No offense there, parrots or whatever. Not in restaurants, not in other people's houses. You make it's in the chasan's house. The oilam goes to the chasan's house. Okay, obviously we don't do that. You even make it in the when they got engaged, not just when they get married. Even when they get engaged. And that was taught in Yehuda, though, when they did it when they were engaged, it was taught in Yehuda, because in Yehuda, we had this in Yevamis, right? In Yehuda, they had this weird minhag because they wanted the chas and kala to be comfortable with each other, so therefore they were meyachad with each other, which means that they obviously had some sort of erisin. So since they were choshed a lot of times that they were going to end up being together, so therefore they made it that they did the birchas chasanim. Tani idach, we have a different price. Birchas chasanim, beis chasanim, birchas erisin, beis erisin. They did birchas chasanim in the beis chasanim and erisin. Okay, so that's the other sheet. Yeah, meaning do we do it or not? Now, stam, the way it's done by our chuppas, when the Mesadik Dushin says those brachas, that's erisin. Kedushin is the Sheva Brachos. That's what we call, that's Nesuin. Nesuin is the Sheva Brachos. Right? So we do it all together, so that's why it's no longer a shaila when you do these Sheva Brachos. Do you do it when they get engaged, or you do it when they get married? Fine. So birchas erisin my mevarich, the bracha of erisin, what is Rabin bar Rav Ada, Rav bar Rav Ada, Tavayim Shmeider of Yehuda Amri Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddushanu Mitzvosav V'tzivanu Ala Royos. Right, we're commanded on the royas. V'asalonu es arusas, and arusas are also to us, meaning you're not allowed to Rashi. It's a fascinating Rashi. What do you mean v'asalonu es arusas? Rashi is talking about the isur yichud, right? V'hitur lanu es nesuas, and he mattered us nesuas ayidei chuppa v'kedushin with chuppa v'kedushin. If anybody noticed, that is not the lashon we use. We stick in one word now. We should ask them if they recognize it, right? We say "V'hitur lanu." Lanu, very good. "V'hitur lanu es nesuas lanu al yidei chuppa v'kedushin." Right? Right? That it says that those it's based on Rabbeinu Tam, right? If you look, you see the Tosfos Rid. Yeah, so he goes through that whole thing. But anyways, we say it Nesua is Lanu, fine.
And the bigger the Rosh Yeshiva today, the bigger the pause after the word Lanu.
I never noticed that, but okay. I never noticed that. I mean Rashi, well, no, it's really okay, I don't know. You see, if you look at the Rashi says V'hitu lanu es nesaseinu hanesuas lanu al yidei chuppa v'kedushin. Mashma like that from Rashi too. Anyways, Rav Achabre, the Rav Messiah Bob Shmeider of Yehuda Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Yisrael Ayidei Chuppa V'Kiddushin. Right?
You say Mekadesh Amoy, no?
What?
Mekadesh Amoy. Mekadesh Amoy Yisrael Ayidei.
Stick in the word Amoy.
Right?
Yeah, is it? Mekadesh Amoy Yisrael? I think so.
Yeah, the bencher. Look in the bencher. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, fine. Mandalei chasim midi dahava birchas peiros birchas mitzvahs. This is a whole sugya unto itself. The one that says you don't finish off with Baruch Atah Hashem, meaning saying another Baruch Atah Hashem, right? Meaning the first shita, 3 lines up, said Baruch Atah Hashem l'keinu Hashem k'dushan v'tzav v'tzivan al haroyos v'asalon v'sarusas v'hitulon v'sanasuas ayidei chuppa v'kedushin. That's the end of the bracha, right? You don't start with Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Yisrael Ayidei Chuppa V'Kedushin. You don't end off with the bracha, right? But this second version says you do and then end off with the bracha. So Mandalei Chasim Midi Dava Birchas Peiros and Birchas Mitzvahs, right? Any Birchas Peiros, Birchas Mitzvahs, you don't say 2 brachas. You just say Baruch Atah Hashem L'Kenu Mechlam B'Arei Pri Hagafen or Shakal Niyavadori, and that's it. Umanda Chasim Midi Dahava Kedusha, and the one that says you do say is similar to Kiddush. Right, Kiddush on Friday night. So what do? You say a whole bracha, and then you finish off with again Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Shabbos. Right. So if it's a birchas mitzvah, you say Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning and Baruch Atah Hashem in the end. So the shita that says that you finish off, which is obviously the way we paskin, we say Baruch Atah Hashem, both. So we look at it as a mitzvah, as a birchas ha-mitzvah. But the other one that says birchas peiros, the other one that doesn't have it says it's birchas ha-peiros, birchas ha-mitzvah, which means you don't end off with the words Baruch Atah Hashem, right? And this
I don't think that can be Amay. Amay wouldn't make sense. That would mean that the Eibishter did Kiddushin and Nistu in two Klal Yisrael. That's not what the bracha means.
Look, I'm trying to find the bencher. That has it.
It's Mekadesh Yisrael. The Klal Yisrael are Mekadesh, do Kiddushin.
Hold on,
I don't know. I gotta look at one of those books.
Put me in a bencher that was left at the chasana from last night. Let's see.
Wait, they put birchas Kiddushin in benchers?
I don't know. It says Mekadesh. No, you're right, Rabbi. Mekadesh Amal Yisrael. They chuva v'kiddushin. Yes, that's what it says. Yeah. Anyways, the other one's got a dam mincha. Okay, so we'll okay. All right. Okay, Zagersund. Onsi.
I should leave this here for yourself?
No, I'm going to bring it to him to the country tomorrow. All right, Gershon, drive safe over there.
Thanks. I'm trying to.
All right. Enjoy it.
I got my driving beer.
Very good. Very good.
What happened last night by the kesuba? The name Nayach was spelled differently.
I just couldn't read it. I couldn't make out the name. I couldn't make out the name. I didn't know whether I should just forget it. But what was this to do? Make up a name? Right? So what was it to do? So I just was like, what does this say? It looked like Nace. Like who is this?
Wow.
Yeah. But whatever. And also talking about not knowing the bracha. So the last bracha, the guy lost the card. You know, the maitre d' gives out the cards. Yeah. He lost the card. He couldn't find it. So he said, okay, start singing, because we couldn't tell the guy searching on the internet and found it. Whatever. It was interesting.
It was a happy couple.
Now that's for sure it was. No, one of them was not on purpose. The other two, I don't know, all of a sudden these guys started singing. I don't know what that was all about. Anyways.
Yeah, after the third bracha. Like stop.
Yeah.
I thought it would have something to do with the person they were calling out for the next bracha, but apparently not.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, I gotta hang up. Gotta get out of here.
All right, Josh.
Safe.
Parrot's still there. Can someone end the thing and knock me off?
I'll do it.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.